Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, etc. How's it going? We're back. Hey, Ferlansky. Hey, Cubis. Oh, Ferlansky with the subscription. 3-month subscription on a 3-month streak. Amazing. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Hey, Cubis. Yeah, you didn't miss today. You were right on time. You didn't miss terribly much. We're getting closer to being able to use our autotiler setup here. We've pushed all the, what I would call the auto-tiling parts down here to the lowest level, to the individual tile map layers. And so we just need to actually get them to do the thing. Later we can worry about caching stuff at a higher level so that they don't have to do this calculation every time. Especially because we're going to need rotation, camera rotation eventually, but let's not worry about that right now. Let's just get it going. Let's get it working in some form. Center myself in the camera here. How's everyone doing? How are you, Cubis? Haven't seen you in a minute. I feel all ergonomic now. I think I can get started. Alright, so what we're gonna do... It happens in a few phases. One phase is we look at our adjacent block. I guess this isn't adjacent. We should call this opposite block. Because this is the block that's opposite of us. We need to look at the opposite block. And then we look through the adjacent faces. The opposite block will let us know whether a space is empty or occupied. And then the adjacent faces will let us know which outline variation we want. So the opposite block is for like determining the source ID. And the adjacent faces are more for determining the atlas coords. It's kind of how that's going to work. So for every coordinate set in the tile blocks, we'll check. We'll make sure that the... What are we storing? We're storing block type, aren't we? Okay. Kind of want to be here so I can look at this. So we're working over these, all of these. We also want to do this in a way that doesn't break what we already have, which is always the trick. So we're going to ask if it's the same. So first we're going to ask, we're going to say if tile blocks, coords, same as our block type. So we only need to operate over the same, over block types that are the same. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Okay. And then... Now we need to index into opposite block by our dimension, which should just work. Assuming I've synchronized, I've lined up the indexes correctly. Just check that block. say if tile blocks, does it matter what type of block we are? I think it kind of does, unfortunately. Berlansky says, so all this works out whether the tile should be drawn as an internal tile or as an external tile, right? Because you remember lighter colors. Pretty much, there's 3 states. There's, let me just bring them up. There is a what I'm using this very light color is for interior spaces. So you got internal compartments of the ship. What I'm using this kind of medium gray color is for like faces of the ship that are exposed to outer space. And then what I'm using this dark gray color is for like fully entombed blocks, like blocks that are just completely surrounded by other blocks. So basically we just need to so if we're a floor, we're just looking to see if the adjacent tile is occupied at all. If we're a wall, we're interested to see if the adjacent tile is also a wall. So the first thing to do is to ask if tile blocks has chords plus opposite block dimension. And if it does, now we want to know what the type is. Cool. So rather than having a million types of tile to place, the player just draws walls and this all panics about how to paint it. Exactly. Because I don't like our initial little janky little prototype deal that I made. Like this doesn't even have all of the outlining that I would want, but it's relatively smooth, you can see. It's like relatively smooth about the outlines, but this was all placed by hand, and it's not even that good. Like you can still see lots of what I would call redundant outlines. I would like outlines to only appear between either like heterogeneous tile types or at the edge of a shape, like the outer edges or stuff. So this was all placed by hand, and it's not very good. So when we're making more ships, I do not want to do this by hand. This needs to be sorted out automatically. Especially because we need to be able to rotate the ship 90 degrees and have that still look correct. So I'm definitely not laying that out once, let alone 4 times. Also, in the potential world where you can maybe rebuild your ship, we don't want you to have to deal with this. We certainly don't want modders to have to worry about this. It's mainly for me, because I'm just one person. So if I can't make assets for this game easily, this game is not going to get made. All right, so the dimension breaks down to its integer because it's an enum, and that gives us the index into the opposite block. We add the opposite block to our coordinates, and that gives us the neighbor that we're considering right now. Now the problem, do we need to do we need to consider what type of block it is? I said yes. So what is exactly the contour of it? Do we need to care about what our block type is? I think the answer is also yes. So we probably just want to match. Match block type. Null. I don't know what we want to do with null. We don't actually want null. We don't actually want to account for null. We'll just put that under the default or something. For Lansky, yeah, wow, I didn't think about half those inconveniences. This is so crucial then. Yet it's one of those things that'll go so unnoticed in the end. Yeah. Yes. Like any good tool, it will become invisible. Like that is the mark of a good tool, right? It becomes like an extension of yourself. This will hopefully be the same way. So we'll deal with the floor. So if the type is a floor, and the tile blocks has this, it doesn't really matter what type it is. If it's any type, then we consider this. So consider this face entombed. I'm just going to describe it, and then we'll come up with the behavior for it in a second. As enums.block.floor. And then if it's a wall, now we have to consider if tile blocks coords plus opposite block dimension is the same as block type. We only care if it's a wall. So if it is a wall, then we will consider this face entombed. Else, consider this face exposed. That's kind of the two ways I'm thinking about this. Exposed or entombed is one state. That kind of determines whether it's a middle hull or one of the either the outer or inner, and then we will figure out whether it's an outer or inner. So if the tile blocks doesn't have this, that's when we check the partitions. Gotta add in a pass because we're not doing anything except commenting at the moment. And now let's go back. Let's just add a default case. Let's not. Well, enums.block.door. What if it's a door? We need to do this check now. Because a door along its dimension, when I say a door along its dimension, I mean like in front of or behind the door, not side to side. Side to side is something else, which we don't actually have to worry about. What we need to worry about is front to back. So we do care. We don't care about this. I almost think I need to ask what the block type is somewhere else. Maybe not. Maybe we only care about floor and wall for now. So then we'll say else, which is the case that tile blocks doesn't have this, which means it's an empty space. If it's an empty space, we still need to do a match, I think. Or do we just need to check if it's a door? Actually, do we need to check it at all? I don't think we need to care what the block type is in this case. Now we're just needing to check compartments. So we're going to say, where are we storing compartments? Oh, we aren't yet. Okay. At onReady variable compartments is a dictionary. It equals the ship deck dot compartments. The ship deck does not have this yet. So at onReady variable compartments ship all dot compartments. Got it here. So the compartments are our partitions, are our space partitions. So the nice little shortcut we can take is we can say, so if it's not that, then we'll say if compartments has coords plus, we need to say if compartments 0 dot has coords plus opposite block. So if this empty space is in compartment 0 is outer space. Is anything exposed to outer space? So if it does, then so consider this face part of the outer hull. Else, consider this face part of the inner hull. We're going to do all of this with a source ID. So the source ID, oh, so we actually do want to match the block types at some point. Do we want to cache that? No, we can just match it multiple times. So we have to pick our source IDs are these fellows. So we have one atlas for each hull type, which gives us extensibility if we come up with additional hull types. And so we just pick which one of these we want based on a combination of whether they're exposed, whether they're outer or inner, like what type of hull they are, but also what type of block they are. And their dimension, I guess. Yeah, okay. If you're the middle floor and you're X or Y, you're a middle floor side. But if you're the Z, you're the top. Okay. Okay, I got it. So we should just for each of these, variable source ID, store that. Initialize that to -1. So we can maybe do some checking at some point, catch some errors if we are unable to determine which type. So So under this case, this else. So if tile blocks chords is block type. As it's exposed. Entombed, exposed, and we know this is exposed and part of the inner hull. Well, no, we don't actually know that part. We don't actually know that. We need to check. We just know it's exposed. So we need to ask if compartments 0. Luckily, we put the walls next to a compartment as part of the compartment. So we can tell if a wall is exposed to outer space. But is that sufficient? Because a hull piece could be on one side outer space and one side inner space. So we need to be able to tell. So we need to ask our own. We need to ask whether we are considered outside or not. Maybe we need to consider ourselves and the other block. We can definitely consider ourselves. So if compartment 0 has coords. So if we are marked as being potentially exposed to outer space, do we want to confirm that to make sure it's the correct side? I think we do. And the easiest way to do that is to check if the other compartment is also exposed to outer space. Maybe we don't need to check ourselves. Maybe we can just check the other one. Because this is only if we're a wall. This is if we're a wall. Yeah, we don't need to check ourselves. We can just check the other one, I think. We'll see. But if the other tile, if our opposite tile is outer space, is exposed to outer space, then we definitely are. There's some malformed things that could happen, but we're going to need to defend against that somewhere else. We'll defend against some of that stuff in like the placement point. Like you can't place a wall down or a door. Some of this is going to be awkward around doors, but we can make some more complicated rules for placing doors. We can make that actually part of the autotiler, or an early part of the autotiler, like a placement helper. So like you can't place a door in such a way that like a door opens onto a wall or something like that, or a door doesn't have enough support on either side. We can do stuff like that. So in this case, we would consider this face part of the outer hull. Else, consider this face part of the inner hull. So I'm gonna shut up for a second. It's compiler errors. Let's throw some passes in there. Okay, so I think we have most of the logic. So this gives us the source ID. Probably want to... No, we don't want to put this in a separate... We might eventually put this in a separate function, just to make it simpler, but let's just throw it in one thing for now. So we figure this out. This all is the source ID part. So we're going to say source ID is, it's the whole type so outer is 0, middle is 1, inner is 3. And it's that. So floor is 0, wall is 0, is 1. Floor is 0, wall is 1. Or no, wall is 2. Zero. 4. Okay. Mapping this stuff in my head here. So if a face is entombed, that means the source ID is at least 4. Let's go with 4. We'll have a lookup somewhere so that this isn't so hard-coded. But we're going to hard-code it for now. So it's 4 plus... Don't worry about the dimensions. So we want to know about the block type and the dimension. Okay, source ID is the block type. So it's actually block type times 4. That actually is just true. So we can actually say this. We can actually say, you can say that up here. Source ID is block type times 4. And what we'll do is we'll say here, we'll say source ID plus, say if dimension is equal to enums.axis.z. So if our dimension is z-axis, oh, no. Source ID equals -1. 0, 1. Okay. Source ID equals 4. We got ads for a minute. Change the radio over on our break. I want something a little more upbeat. Just a little more upbeat though, not like a lot. All right, so if dimension is z, then it's going to be Actually, source ID is not going to be... so we can actually do it here in the block type match. That should help. If we do doors, doors is going to be something else, but we don't have any doors yet, so let's not worry about doors. Let's just figure this out. So source ID is 4, based on that. But it's actually... yeah, so if it's a 4, it's a 4. But if dimension is Z, then it's going to be source ID plus equal 1. Add 1 to it. For wall, we're going to say source ID we're going to say source ID equals let's do it this way. Let's do it as a ternary. Similarly here, we're going to say source ID equals this face is also entombed. 0. It's going to be source ID 6 if dimension, no, 7 if dimension is enums.access.z, else 5, no, else 6. Z, big Z. All right, now this face is exposed. But is it outer hull? So in this case, it's outer hull. So we'll say it's 8, but it's a wall. Part of the outer hull. Oh, so it's going to be 2. It's going to be, just copy these down. So ID is 2 if dimension, or 3 if dimension is 6, otherwise 2. So we just go up a step if we're talking about the Z, which is the tops, the little diamond-shaped tops. This is inner hull, so this is 8, 9, 10. This is 11. Turning it up to 11 or 10. Otherwise, if this face is exposed, now we need to consider block type. I wonder if we should consider the block type somewhere else. Oh, cheap viewers, you say? What a name. It's a great way to evade a ban. Just have a name that's hard to spell. Drop that ban hammer. Sorry, getting text messages, getting distracted. All right, unfortunately, we have to check our hull type here again, which isn't great. So, or our block type. So we should figure out a better place to do this. Because we're checking it here, and we're checking it here. So, should probably structure this differently. But for now, we're just going to do the simplest thing, which is to just carry on. We'll refactor this. I need to be able to see what we're doing before I can really think about how to change the structure of it. So if we're a floor, and we're part of the outer hull, and we're exposed, fully exposed, then we would say source ID equals eight. Okay, it would be 9 if dimension is the same as enums.axis.z, else 8. Eventually we're gonna pre-compute this stuff and like cache it. For now we're just gonna do it every time that something changes. Source ID equals, so if we're a wall, this is where it's 11 if dimension, oh no, not 11. Oh wait. Oh yeah, no, that's right. 11 if dimension equals enums dot axis dot c else 10. Oh, this is inner. Why am I trying to do inner? Doing outer. So we can move this down. Accidentally did this in the wrong place. Sorry, I was feeling raspy there for a second. I need to drink more tea. Oh, why did I put the match in here? Yeah, this is starting to spaghettify, but that's okay. So it's 1 if dimension equals axis.z, else 2, or else 0. And then this one is three, else 2. That covers pretty much everything. 5, so let's see here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, yeah, we get everything. We cover everything. But it's not just the source ID. We also need to figure out the atlas coords. Variable atlas. So we're at this indentation level. We're going to say variable atlas coords. So vector 2, I. So for the atlas coords, this is where we check our adjacent faces. So we're going to say for offset for adjacent chords for adjacent face in adjacent faces along this dimension. Each of these adjacent faces, we just need to check. Here's the part that sucks. Here's the thing that we need to pre-compute. We need to like pre-compute, because this wants to know about the hull face of every other one, and the way I'm doing this, yeah, we need to compute this once, store it somewhere, and then pass it in. Because it actually depends, because each face cares about its other adjacent faces. And right now, this thing is determining its own face and then asking about its neighbors. So maybe we just do this in 2 steps. Maybe we do, everyone figures out their own face, and then we do the other way of doing it. Okay, so we'd say something like variable source IDs. It's a dictionary. Variable atlas chords. It's a dictionary. So we'll do this first. We'll do this loop once. Let's get this out of here. Let's make this one loop. Let's actually break this out into a function so we can change it later. Function get source IDs. Move all this down. So when a tile block changes, we will get source IDs. And similarly, we will get atlas chords. I think this is technically set, not get. It feels more like get. Feels like get because we're like figuring them out. But I realize that's like not usually what people mean. Berlansky, is the issue when the ship is instantiated, no adjacent tiles necessarily exist, so the face code might not work it out right? No, the issue is we want to know, we basically want to know this information, this source ID information about our neighbors, but our neighbors may not have yet calculated that information because we're just doing it for every coordinate in the tile blocks. So we really need to wait for this to be done. We need this whole step, the whole source ID step to be done because we're going to be referencing the source IDs of our neighbors. So we're just breaking this part out into a second step, which means we need to loop over everything again, which isn't great, but we'll survive. This is all wildly inefficient, but I think the first time you do something like this, I think the first version of it should be readable, poorly optimized, and a number of things. We need to get these passes out of here. Is that the only one left? Okay. Yeah, like there's lots of room for improvement here. Berlansky, you understand? Why does each tile need its neighbor's information? Doesn't it just need to know if its neighbor is a floor or a wall? No, it needs to know if it's the same kind. So, like, it needs to know, like, this is the wrong file. So, like, here, why does this always get back on top when I try to full screen the photo viewer? Photo viewer is weird. So, like, let's look for a good example. So, like, here's kind of an example. So this one, there's the Z here. You can tell there's an outline here because the top face of this adjacent tile is either missing or different. It can only get rid of the outline if the face of the adjacent tile is the same. Like, is it also an outer hull or an inner hull or a middle hull? Because I want outlines between heterogeneous surfaces. So you need to know not just if it's a wall or a floor, you need to know if it's an outer, you need to know its hull type information too. And we were figuring that part out. I should honestly probably have a hull type. Rather than calling this source IDs, this should probably just be called hull types. Is probably what it should be. And we should probably just store hull types instead of this nonsense. Because the source ID thing may change. Yeah, let's do it that way. So let's comment this out for a second. Actually, no one calls it, so we don't have to comment it out. But let's basically recreate this as func get hull types. Void. You see, so they can sort color first and then sort outlines. Yeah, exactly. You need to know the color to know the outline. That's a good way of putting it. By the way, there are fancy constants on vector 2D like front and right. Yes, there are. But the enum is not that. The enum, this axis enum is not a vector. It's like an enum, so we don't need it there. Here, are you talking about here? I do this just so I'm actually sure which one it is. Because, for example, like if we go this, and we go down here, because you have a good point, Cubus, but forward and back are not what I expect them to be. Like, up and down is right, in my mind, but it's also not how Godot works. Like, in 2D, up for us is like forward this way. So, it's like forward left. So part of it is because we're in a 2D space is part of the problem, where the Y is like this and the Z is up and down. So the forward and back are like the opposite of what I expect them to be, which is just me. So this just doesn't match up with what I expect, so I'm not using it. Yeah, we're faking 3D, so our axes are kind of weirdly oriented. I'm sure that won't bite us in the ass later. I'm sure that won't be a problem at some point when we're trying to do something like physics oriented. Oh yeah, that's gonna be great. Who knew 3 dimensions make no sense in 2D? Yeah, exactly. All right, so get hull types. I'm going to say get here because we're just getting them. I don't know. Yeah, I can't. Set and get are weird to me. Because we're deriving the hull types, but we are setting them here. Somewhere here. Variable. Hull types. that can be per face, because that's what we care about. So we're basically, but we're actually going to just copy this structure over, sort of. We're probably going to change it, because I don't love it. So, hull types. So for the chords, we got the tile blocks. We figure out if the block type is the same. If it is, then we'll process it. Instead, we're going to say hull type. Hull type is an enums.hull.type. Oh, do you not have hull type as a thing? Oh, I don't know why I said hull type. Hull dot outer middle inner. Okay. Hull. Say null, just for fun. And now, so now I kind of want to think about this part, about like the matching the block type deal. So we can actually get rid of most of this for this stage. So if the tile blocks has this, so it makes sense to do the match here, maybe. Maybe not. Let's match off the type once. Let's say let's try it doing it this way. See if we like the look of that better. Do it at the top, match the block type at the top, and then branch. So we'd say, instead of this, we would say, consider this an entombed face, we would say, maybe we don't want to do it this way. Let me recreate it and then look at it. Getting ahead of myself. So instead of source ID, we say, so if the face is entombed, we say hull type equals enums.hull.middle. Yeah, the nesting is bad, Cubus. But we're just trying to understand the relationships, then we'll like fix it. We'll fix it later. We're trying to do it a little bit right now, honestly. Say hull type. enums.hull.middle. Hull.middle. Struggling with the case here. So else. Fix the nesting a little bit, I guess. Or reduce it. I wouldn't say fix it. "8 feet of indenting." Yeah, I hate that so much. sometimes I'll like I have worked in environments where the indenting is like a single space, and I'm like, this is nice, but I think it's also giving me bad habits. It's like making me less upset about indenting. So I'm keeping the tabs because I should be doing something about this. So I don't think we need this match in this case. Yeah, because the match is just for the source ID, so we can get rid of a lot of this. We can just say hull type enums.hull.outer. Also get rid of another level of indenting here. Okay, that's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. Get rid of these. This is now fairly self-documenting what's happening now that we're using enums. Oh no, it should look that way. It's just Megalogic is all. I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I do not like that sort of thing. I do not like branching. All right. So this is fine. So we're getting the hull types. So that actually is going to be the first thing we do, is get hull types. And then, what do we do? So we've got our hull types. Oh, I need to assign hull types awards equals hull type. Should assign it back, probably. I actually don't. I only use this once, so I actually don't need a variable here. Just assign directly to the dictionary. We got it down to the single match case, which is good. I could just do an if else, but I want to leave space in case for when we add doors. Doors might make this more complicated. I also might change the ordering of some of these enums to be flags, be flaggable. So then we can do more easy comparisons of like compound flags. But we'll get there when we get there. Quick ad break. Give myself a little posture check here. All right. Posture problem. Don't make me redeem a sit stand. No, I got a nice pillow. I got a nice chair. I just kind of slump over time. My peripherals also move around a lot. So I gotta anchor those a little better. I'm good. I got my arms at 90 degrees. Tightly against my body here. Got it. I've got it. I've got good posture. Don't make me stand up. Don't make me do it. Don't make me sing. Yeah, tray table up, seat upright. I made a mistake. I put some like under desk storage attached to the bottom of my desk. And like now I can't wheel my chair under the desk anymore, and I'm like, I've done something bad. I've done a bad thing. But I'm okay as long as I put my peripherals right on the edge of the desk. All right, so we've got our hull types. Now we can just match the combination of our hull type with our block type. Oh, we need to start this with hull types dot clear. All right. So let's change set source IDs. So 4 coords in tile blocks. If tile blocks coords is same as our block type. This is where I would like to slice. I would like to do some kind of slicing. We could at least search a smaller set. Because we could slice by Z index. Because I feel like the time we're spending going to be spending most of our time searching through these dictionaries. If I change them to arrays, we can just slice off the chunk of the array that we want. So, you know, more storage. It takes a little more to store everything, but the search time would be a lot lower. So I don't know. We'll see. Let's not make performance trade-offs yet till we see it a little more clearly. So we can just have a big ol' actually what we should do, we shouldn't iterate over tile blocks, we should iterate over hull types. You should say 4 coords. Then we don't need to iterate over the whole thing. That's good. That's good stuff. In hull types. We just say match. Hull types dot coord. Oh, hull types coords. So enums dot hull dot outer. Oops. Outer. So we just gonna do nested matches? Is that like where we're at? Or we could do something better. We could have a value associated. Have a value associated with this. We could say source ID by hull. Array of arrays. No, array of integers. No, that doesn't make sense. What am I talking about? It's a combination of the block type and the hull. Could I arrange it in such a way where I could just like multiply and add them instead of doing a check? Is there a world in which we can do that, where we can arrange these, where we can contrive these values such that we can do that? So outer is 0, middle is 1. All right, let me just write this out. Outer hull is 0. Middle hull is 1. Inner hull is 2. And then for block types, it's block. We'd say floor block is 0. Wall block is 1. Door block. Well, door block might fuck this all up for us. Door block is 2, but we could maybe figure that out. Let's ignore door block for now, but let's still think about it. So let's say middle floor. Oh wait, dimension. We also need dimension. Dimension is gonna really mess us up. I think instead of because right now dimension is XYZ 0, 1, 2. We actually want something else that's just like we can use a ternary, I guess. I don't know. Or I don't know. I kind of want a different value that's maybe just like a Boolean. Like we just need a horizontal versus vertical value. Say like Z face. I don't know, Z facing. That's not an enum, is it? So that would just be a baked in bool. That complicates things a little bit. So like middle floor side is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4. We're just having some test cases. Outer wall top is outer wall top is 3. So we're just gonna see how we can maybe calculate some of these variables. Inner floor top is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So let's see how we can compute these values maybe in a way that works so we can just not have to do this whole if else shit. Song is kind of loud for our regular fare here. That's better. So it could be hull times 4. Oh, this song is my jam. This is like one of the more RimWorld songs I've heard. So it's hull times 4 plus block times 2 plus is Z facing 1 or 0. So this is the formula to get the source ID. Hull times 4 plus block times 2 plus whether it's Z facing or not, a 0 or 1. You're having to replay some of Hollow Knight to help with your game. Have I had to revisit FTL at all? I try to. Had is a strong word, but I definitely try to revisit FTL. And I try to pay attention to like content created around FTL. I also need to do some more. What I need to do some more research on is some games that are like FTL but did not succeed, of which there are a handful. Some games that tried to be like FTL and came up short, and I need to identify what went wrong. I need to identify if it was like the execution, if it was the idea, what it was. So I am trying to do some research on that. But to an extent, we are trying to imitate the motivation of FTL. Like we're cribbing more on the motivation than we are necessarily on the execution. But we do still want to have a recognizable form, because I think that's really the only way to get attention nowadays, is to have something where someone can say, it's like this, but also this. And that's kind of the vibe we're going for. Okay, so I think I've confirmed that this is correct, right? So outer 4 times 4 is 0. Block times 2 is... Yeah, so this is correct. All this is correct. So we just have to decide how we want to capture the is Z facing thing. Yeah, because you don't want to crib these games too directly, but you do want to try to capture the magic. All right, so we're going to say block type. Well, let's start with hull type. We'll say hull type. So we'll say source ID. We actually don't need to initialize it like this. We can say is hull types coords times 4 plus block type times 2 plus integer Can I just do this? Can I literally do this? Can I just say dimension is equal to enums dot... We can just say is facing. let's say plus integer is facing z. Oops. Can we just do that? The reason we can't do this? I mean, is facing z doesn't exist. Oh, variable source ID. Probably declare that variable somewhere. At onReady, we're gonna say you just make this an integer. Mention is equal to enums dot axis z else 0. You can just say that, right? Get rid of this cast. I kind of want to try the cast though. So what if we say oh, I can just add that. It'll just add it as 1. That'll work. Is there an implicit conversion from bool to integer? Is it really, doesn't not list its implicit conversions here? No, it doesn't, does it? There's bool from integer. So does integer have from integer from bool? Yeah, okay, so there is an beautiful. Love that. I love implicit conversions. Yeah, this is way better. To just have this be mathematically calculated instead of this horrible mess. We'll figure out a better way to do this eventually. This isn't too bad though. This could be way worse. The fact that we're having to do it for every single tile block is a little unfortunate, but we'll improve that as well. We can get rid of our math. We can not show our math anymore. I find that very helpful as a process thing to do though. Let's just write out what you think the logic is. Okay, so set source IDs. So we're gonna say source ID, source IDs, chords, sources. I feel like I should be consistent. So we'll say this is set hull types. Set source IDs. And then last is going to be set atlas chords. Then set atlas chords. Can't wait till I try to run this. I haven't run any part of this in the last few days because I knew that none of it was going to work. And then we're going to try to run all of this at once and none of it will work. It'll be beautiful. For chords, again, we can just go by, we could say for chords in source IDs. Do I have atlas chords? Did I make that? I did. These all make sense to be dictionaries since they are loosely packed. I'm still not convinced on tile blocks. I think an array might be better for tile blocks. We'll see. Let's see. And then so for this one, this is the fun part. So this is where we go, where we say for adjacent tile in this is where we get our neighbor information. Maybe we want to go by hull types and not source IDs. I don't know, maybe we do want to go by source IDs. We got to figure out how we're going to iterate over this, because we need particular information to determine, not this. I feel like I should just leave these two files open right now. I keep closing them. We need to know. You need to know about this neighbor information. Get neighbor information. I mean, this is basically the same. Should we do the same thing we did with hull types, where we have this be like obfuscated, or not obfuscated, but do this as a separate pass? Maybe. The thing is, we care about floors versus walls to an extent. No, I guess we don't. Yeah, I guess we need to check block type and hull type when we're looking at face information, because it doesn't matter if the block next to you... Oh, wait, no. If we iterate over hull types, we're guaranteed to only get hulls that are the same as us, because we're doing a check earlier here. Ah, I closed it again. I'm gonna leave that open. Because here, when we're setting hull types, we're checking to make sure that the tile blocks match our block type. So hull types is only blocks of the same type as us. Okay, beautiful. Beautiful. That simplifies things tremendously. So for adjacent tile in adjacent tiles dimension, because we want to be particular based on some things here. All right, and then so the adjacent tile. So we go through each of those, and we ask if hull types dot has towards plus adjacent tile. So if it does, what do we want to do? We need to add this. Here's the thing, though. We need to add this information together. Because what we got here, like this matters the order. So I actually need to care about this. So we go through. So this is none. So this is 0. No, this is. So this is none. This is 1 on the right, 1 on the left, both. So this is actually built to be bit masked, isn't it? Because this is 1, 2, and then 3 as a combination of 1 and 2. But we can do that without, that can just be math. And then here we jump up. So if there's a border on the bottom, why did I do it this way? Oh, I see. So if there's a border on the bottom, we jump up to 4. And then we add the 1, 2, 3 of this. So this is 4. So maybe this is also an enum thing we're doing. Because there's a value to a particular border now, is what there is. Top is 8. And then top and bottom is 12. So yeah, it's these values being added together. So that's actually fine. How do I want to do this then? I think I want to do them as flags, huh? Seems like it. So what is the order that I put in these adjacent faces? Is that... So we want to do right first. And right is... So for a tile facing this way... It would be a tile facing this way. The right is negative 1y. Yeah, that's correct. Left is positive 1y. Also correct. Down is negative 1z. And up is positive 1z. Okay. So this is good. This is correct. All right, let's do it. So enums, let's go to our enums thing. We're going to say, what should we call this? Faces, maybe? Faces. This is going to be longer, so maybe we don't make this one thing here. So we say, so if we organize these as bit flags, they got to be powers of 2. So we'd say none is 0. Right is 1. Left is 2. Down is 4. Up is 8. So I should be able to operate as on these as bitwise. Here's the issue. Does that doesn't hold true for all of these? That holds true for this one. It does not hold true for these tops and bottom faces. I did these differently, and that's maybe a mistake. For this one, instead of laying them out across, I laid them out in a grid. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe we should be consistent. A little unfortunate because it would be a waste of space to do it this way, but because I need a bigger atlas. Probably other ways to do this too. So I guess I have to decide whether I want to handle these the same way or differently. I guess I could have different ones for each. I could have faces dot sides or faces dot tops. Like we could treat them differently. In which case I could do that like this. I'd kind of like to do it either way though. I'd kind of like to do them all across like this, or to do them all in a grid. Let's look at that for a second. I would like to handle them consistently. So let's look at what that would mean. So if I did that, it would be like, do it like this. So let's look at the tiles. Give myself a little bit of a bigger canvas to work with for a second. Turn the background on so I can see what I'm doing. Not what I wanted to do. Okay. So I could rearrange everything. This would go like over here. Just be out of the way. Go down. Also go down. Just gotta grab them all. Let's get the grid on so I can see what I'm doing. 32 by 16. Yeah. I'm not married to this exact way of storing these, but I would like to pick a way and then be consistent about it. We're running out of time. That's fine. I'm pretty confident that by the end of the week we'll have this working. And we can move on to more exciting gameplay, more gameplay related stuff. We can start designing ships and looking at layouts and starting thinking about movement. Like, this is not very consistent. Why are there 8 of these? Oh, because they're opposites. Oh, so this actually wouldn't be it. It would be like this. The This is what it would be like. I liked part of this. Part of this, the Y, was just whether this was flipped or not. Do we want to have different source IDs for each dimension? That would be easy. That would be easy. I have to rebuild our tile set a little bit, but I could do most of that off screen probably. Just want to think about this a little more. Here's like the whole floor atlas. So this is the top, the left side's the right side. That's nice. Now I need to deal with this though. We do it simple like this, like just have it just be 0, 1, 2, 3. We don't even need to do them as explicit bit flags because there's so few values. This is pretty stacked though. Oh, I actually kind of think I like this. Oh, I did this wrong. He's down 2 more. Another kind of RimWorld track. Maybe not. Got some elements. Yeah, we're running out of time for today, but that's okay. That's okay. Be okay. Again, I really appreciate my day ones here who hang out for what is definitely like the most boring work of the stream. The tool that Furlansky rightly said was going to be invisible when it's done. No one will notice it. No one will care. But we'll notice and we'll care. How's this doing? How's this looking? Put the top at the top. Put the sides next. Then actually what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the tops here again, but they're gonna be down low. Because right now we use the same material, but I think eventually the floors will look different than the tops of walls. But maybe not. Maybe they won't look different. No, they will look different. They will look different. They will be different. Furlansky, honestly, it helps you slog through the boring bits in your game, seeing you do the same. Okay, that's heartening. Cubus. Some of those could def be in the same tile set as an alternative tile through flipping. I thought about that, Cubus. Here's the problem with doing it with flipping. Is... like, see this? See this? This is basically flip. Do you see the problem here? You see how the faces, like the solid color, the gray color is flipped, but the outlines are linearly copied over? So I would need to flip the logic of... I would need to flip the logic of how we map into these based on that. I would need to be like, well... which we could do. We could say, are you dimension X or dimension Y? Here's how you map onto this, which we might eventually do. But at the moment, you can't just pick a tile and then flip it. You'd have to like pick a different tile than you would normally pick if you were X facing, but now you're Y facing. Yeah, it's because of it's because of the I want to have consistent logic about outlining, and we would need to mirror the outlining logic if we wanted to be able to just flip the sprites. Yeah, not worth the hassle. That was my feeling, considering this is still just a 512 by 256 sprite sheet, which we can shorten here. We can shorten the width down to 128. Yeah, this is good. I like this better. We'll rearrange this slightly. Pop this on top. I'm basically out of time for today, though, so I'm going to start my... After this, all this outlines is going to be a PTSD trigger for you. Oh, yeah, just wait until I decide I don't want outlines. So wait until I'm like, actually, we're going to change the art style, and we're not going to use outlines anymore. And I'm just going to be like, I hate me so much. But yeah, I'm going to start my outro speech here, because we're basically out of time. I will swap the rest of these out in my free time tonight. But I like this. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be starting a little earlier tomorrow and Friday and knock some of the rest of this stuff out. But I'm confident that we'll get there sooner than later. This is at least aesthetically pleasing to me now. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for hanging out. And yeah, I'm going to see you next time. I'm going to keep this short but sweet. Bye.